planet, a planet with one large natural satellite. The planet is called Earth. I am Nomad. I am perfect. That which is imperfect must be sterilized. I contain no parasitical beings. I am Nomad. Non sequitur. Your facts are uncoordinated. There are no exceptions.
Error. 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 Examine.
I shall analyze error. Analyze error. Faulty. Faulty. Must sterilize.
Well, hello folks, Mike here for a long-awaited video, and today I'm working on Nomad ships. And as you can see, this is the interior of the Nomad, and I got a fair amount to talk about, I guess, but I noticed online there was a few other people building some Nomads, and they used fiber optic, and I wasn't too enthused with that idea because basically it's a hell of a lot of work sticking all that fiber in there, and you really don't have a lot of versatility. This takes a little more time to make. As you can see, you get quite a few lights in there, and you know, you get 5 lights on 4 sides. And you have to power them all with a 4.5 voltage and with a 56 ohm resistor in parallel. So that makes the lights last longer and steady. Here, these are your main pulsing lights for the voice, and that's a red light, and these are yellow, or more orangey yellow. So we don't have to deal with any Tamiya, or we don't have to deal with any colored gels. But I did like the idea that one fella was going to put some micro crystal clear over these holes, which isn't a bad idea because it'll make it more filled, and the red lights will penetrate through there. This is a Monsters Motion model kit, solid resin, hollowed out, all the holes drilled, you know, one at a time, a very micro drill bit. This is a new idea I've come up with. It's one single cool white lead. It goes right through the center, comes up, and sits against a little clear washer, and that clear washer will actually glow. So when the top of the Nomad is on, you'll have illuminating light underneath the bottom. I can show you that. So basically, you have your light, and you have your top, you know, that fits on right here. So this dark area will fill with light, and the 3mm cool white will blast up through here, this hole, and make the beam, or 2, it's in the show, glow. Now this whole top portion of the model on a Monsters Motion is too long, so that had to be stubbed out. But if you can see, here's one I've made a little bit shorter, so you can see them all. As you can see, in each model kit they're slightly different. So if you go to the, you can see it's very stubby, not long. See, it's like the bottom is too long and the top's just right. So I've basically taken one and made it more like the show. Took some grinding and so forth to get that right, but you know, it has to be filled yet. Still got some serrations on there from the file and stuff. But this little thing is definitely a hell of a lot of work, and it basically goes right into the ship. So basically, this thing fits nicely in there, and it has a beautiful effect. So taking a microcrystal clear and putting it over this portion, as far as I'm concerned, ruined the effect, because you wouldn't be able to see inside the robot. So you want to actually look in there. It gives it a three-dimensional. This area can be filled, and I'll show you how that works. Finally, that furnace turned off, nice and quiet now. But anyway, this little guy here is a 3-volt battery, and that you only need 3 volts for the pulsing. If you use 4.5, all these 3, it will not function correctly. So it has to have 3 volts. The sound card, which is underneath here, can take the 4.5 volts. Now that's already been loaded with Nomad sounds, which is interesting. We'll see that later when I get it going. If we look over here, I got some other ones here on the board, and I've added the glue and glaze to the Nomad, and the bottom one is not done, but the top is done. So you can already start to see the dark ones are the ones that are drying. And once I turn it on, it should even the light out a little bit, so you won't be able to see in. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to fill that bottom one in. I don't know. I like looking inside there. It looks kind of cool, but we'll have to see. So basically, we got the light at the top, which will run the beam, basically the beam at the very top of the Nomad, right here, and it'll just project up through there. And then I add a little piece of clear plastic, so the backwash from this light will make that glow and shoot down in there. So that's going to be quite the little model. It's quite the amount of work getting these holes very straight and drilled. I am making a M4 right now, which is very similar to the Nomad, and that is quite the challenge as well. And basically, the M4 is a regurgitated prop from the Nomad prop, and I'm making this now. So let me take this. So here she is. See, it's like the top of the Nomad, You flip that baby upside down, and you've got an array of lights. So basically, it's kind of like the Nomad all over again. And those bottom ones will blink. It's got a new pulsing light in there as well. It's a different type of model. You just can't have these blink. They have to have a light for them to shut down, and then you have to have a circuit board for a blinking light later, because as it moves forward, this frosted light will blink red, and then this whole area here will blink together simultaneously with it. Now, this is a Monsters in Motion kit. The scale of these holes were all wrong. They were way too big. And they gave you these little parts. And I actually started making them red, but I realized that the scale was wrong. And so I had to make them smaller. So basically it's like this, and these are like friggin' hockey pucks. They're like way too big. So whoever made this model just designed the lights pads too large. So plus when you get that washer around it, it looks way too big. So I just made it smaller, and I actually casted some smaller lenses, and I got a nice silver lens that's going to go around that. And then this is a see-through lens, which I had to redo because this was in cast, and basically it just goes over top of the model like that to close it all in, and it will illuminate a little bit when the model is going. I'm probably going to leave that open. I'm not going to microcrystal clear all that up, because in the show you can actually see in there. So I'm just not 100% if I'm going to light block or make those little clear windows, and might just leave it right open so you can actually see the lights in there. Gave it some distance so you can see there's quite a bit of wiring in there. And all the wires go out this pipe. Now this pipe just allows it to sit like that, so it looks like it's floating. So the Nomad sits down onto the ground or onto the base, but this can't. This is a challenging little model, but that's going to be fun once I get it going. So the Nomad and the M4 are very similar in size. And see, you can see. Interesting. Well, here we are. I'm going to simplify this. I'm not going to get into a lot of electronics because it is complex. But it does have the flashing lights in here for the inside grills. These had to be drilled. They're not easy to drill. I can fill them with microcrystal clear like I did the other Nomad model. Here's the other Nomad, and these are not filled yet, so I'm probably not going to fill the bottoms. I'm just going to just fill the tops, I believe, and because it makes it difficult to paint once these things are filled, because you can't paint it again silver if you want to touch it up, because you'll spray right over the microcrystal clear and mess it all up. So it's nice to keep them open until the very last minute, and then you can fill whatever you want to fill. That's just a little protector for the light. So you can see this got a translucent plastic, so when the light is picked up through this bulb, it'll make this thing glow, and it'll produce a little light underneath this hood. It was on here. These models are practically the same. You saw earlier how it was powered, and you saw earlier how this one was powered. And it's got this big post on here, which I've done that so I can have it kind of hovering. And the Nomad sits down on its bottom. But this is a lot more complicated, this M4, compared to the Nomad, because you have dual wiring. The lights at the top do two things. They blink and they also respond by the sound card, so they have to be wired two different ways. And then in here there's a blinking that goes in through this grid. That's a separate light. And then the flashing that goes in the background inside there, that's another light. And of course there's flashing here, and that has to be powered with just the right amount of power to make them all flash independent from each other. And then there's just a little post on the bottom here, like that. It doesn't. The same as a cloaking device, which you guys probably know. They just use that prop 3 times. So anyway, and this is illuminating disc. This will illuminate. I have to experiment with that because I don't want it to illuminate too much. So I might have to put a little bit of foil in here to, or sticky reflective paper. Where is that stuff? Oh, here it is. This kind of stuff. It will just block some of the light to make so it doesn't glow too much. It's all experimenting. Plus the whole had to be wired through this thing, and then it has to be glued together. It's a complicated little model, but I'm only going to make one for myself. I made 5 of these already for people. This is mine. Just made the last one for George. And it's over there on the painting. Let me get that for you. I want to show you something else too I'm working on. And here's George's. It's all getting painted right now. So, but what I'm doing is this. Here's my latest endeavor. This is a clapperboard from the Litholium Web reproduction. I'm just finishing the top. So you can see it looks pretty freaking nice. And I'm going to be putting this up for sale online. And it's a reproduction model. Basically, this is a model, you know. It's not easy to build these things. And the printing is just like how it was when it was handwritten in. And I made it as best I can. This little area here could have been a little bit larger to match the director's. But other than that, it's pretty well spot on for the clapperboard. So there you go, guys. Keep you posted on the models, and you'll be able to see the Nomad and the M4 come to life. I don't think anyone's ever made a proper M4 before. And these lights are going to be blinking on the bottom. They're going to be really cool. And it's going to have all the sound effects and everything. It's going to be very, very neat. Catch you later.